But I can imagine with those more personal songs, is it difficult to put those elements of yourself for everyone to hear?
Not really. I don't know. It's I don't know. I mean, I suppose it's always just very natural to me. It's something that I don't know whether you play the guitar and sing, and you just draw on stuff naturally, and you don't try and filter it too much. So yeah, I mean, it's always been an escape for me and something that I've allowed, to happen. So yeah, I don't really feel too. I mean, if I was writing something really horrible about myself, do you know what I mean? Like, I kicked a pigeon today, I might be thinking, oh, maybe they don't want to hear about the time I kicked that pigeon, So, maybe there's a little bit of a critical faculty there that's telling me, okay, maybe people want to not think that I'm a complete bastard. But, yeah, I don't hold back too much.
And when you write these songs, because you mentioned it's part of it is yourself, part of it is the world around you, your imagination, people that you know. So do you think about the audience, how they will listen to a certain song while you're making it?
I don't do anything consciously, like as consciously as that. I just, what feels good for me and maybe it's an arrogant way of thinking, but if I was second guessing every single thing I did, it would drive me crazy. I mean, I have a feeling about, okay, it feels like the song needs to change at this point, or this lyric feels right. So I'm not too conscious. I feel like I have my sensibilities about what I feel works, and I just trust myself, hopefully.
in that sense, because you've been making music and making albums for quite a while, does it become easier?
I think it becomes easier to know yourself, to know, to not, whatever bad thing is happening, or whatever writer's block or bad song that you're writing, to not be too hard on yourself about it, and to realize it's part of a journey, each record, and sometimes you need to write some bad songs to get to the good ones. So I think you know yourself a bit better, and so you're a bit less panicky and kind of less sleepless nights about things, But yeah, there's still a bit of stress. Okay.
And you mentioned Jonah's Whale being one of the first songs you wrote for this album. In what space of time were these songs written? Well, did you start 2 years ago, or even further?
Probably, that I did the last album, and I sort of consciously didn't try and write for a while, and just sort of gave myself a break.
Why?
And I don't know. You just feel like I don't want to. I think with the last album, I was sort of fighting to the finish line, and trying to sort of get as many ideas. So you immediately sort of go, okay, right, let's ignore that now. And luckily, creativity just creeps back in, and one day I'll pick up a guitar and I'll find a few chords, and I think, oh, I better just put that down. And it just sort of grows almost like limescale grows in your tap, you know what I mean? Before you know it, you've got a clogged up tap full of, stuff. And that's kind of what happened with me. I just sort of started to sort of build something, and before I knew it, I was like, okay, well, I'm getting close to something. But it reached a head of steam, and I'd say the last couple of years. I mean, the album was finished some months ago, probably like a year ago, maybe. So, yeah, it's.
So what is that period of sort of a limbo like then? Because, like you say, the record is finished, but you can't release it yet. You have all this new material. Is it a very anxious period?
It's time to go crazy. Yeah, it's the avoidance tactics, and thinking, trying to be somebody else and do something else, and say, well, I'm not a songwriter. I'm a whatever I am. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, lots of. Trying to find other things, maybe writing with other people, trying not to panic, but it's not easy. There's a lot of waiting, but yeah.
In that sense, I don't know how much you've played the new songs live yet. But are those initial weeks of playing the new songs live, or what are they like?
They're so great because obviously I'm locked away in a small room singing these songs into a machine, and I have no idea whether anything's good, bad, you know. I'm guessing. So to have an immediate reaction from an audience, and an audience doesn't lie, even if they're trying to be nice to you, they will give you more applause to a song they love. And so far I've had a really lovely response to the new record, and also it's really helped me to find, you know, okay, what works, you know. Going back a bit to your question about thinking about the audience, well, the audience let me know when I'm playing them. You know, I've only done a few gigs, but it's been really useful. It's been great.
And there's a couple of songs that stick out for me, so I'm gonna pick one of them and see if we can talk about that one. Since You Went Away was one that stuck out for me. So where did that song start? Did you have a clear idea of that?
That was one of the last songs. There were a couple of songs at the very end of the process where we were sort of, you know, the band had sort of finished tracking, and it was like, well, we've got this thing. I had just this chord sequence. And so it was kind of like, my producer was said, John, you've got to finish this thing. You've got to write a lyric. You've got to find a lyric for this. You know, I love the chords and I think it's great, but you've got to finish this thing. So it just, I don't really know. I just sort of knuckled down and sort of, okay, I've got to write this, you know. And obviously the minor changes again lent themselves to a pretty sad song.
But the sonic landscape of that song, in a way, does that then, because you mentioned the band, does that come to fruition when you're recording it, or are there elements added later, like the strings or?
Yeah, I mean that was one where because the band had actually tracked everything else, I'd actually gone away on my own and kind of come up with the arrangement of this particular song. So, yeah, we built that song, the producer and I, and then we brought the strings and the rest of the band into play. So maybe that was a little bit different because it, you know, to the rest of the record. Yeah.
Yeah. The final thing I want to talk about is well. In September, you're going to be back here in the Netherlands to play Carré with Dionne Warwick. What is it like for you to be invited to play with somebody like that?
It's brilliant. It's great on every level. I mean, on a purely music business kind of, you know, level, it's great to sort of think, oh my God, this is such a validation, you know, to sort of, I'm not just ridiculous. Somebody said that I can play with them. That's like a legend, you know. So I must be doing something okay, you know. So it's sort of in the darkest periods of sort of what the hell am I doing with my life? What is this? It's a lovely antidote to that. And the fact that it is somebody that I genuinely love, their music, and they are, you know, they've shaped who I am as an artist. So it's great. That's such a thrill. You know, there are a couple of people that's happened. I mean, Dionne Warwick, and then also with people like Mark Knopfler, where you know, when I only had 2 tapes, you know, 2 cassette tapes, I had Brothers in Arms. This is I don't know what this says about me. I had 2 cassettes. And it was side A and side B. It had Brothers in Arms, Dire Straits, Phil Collins, No Jacket Required. Okay. And the other one was Michael Jackson, Thriller and Off the Wall. And that was the 4 albums I ever had. So to then be like touring with Mark Knopfler as an adult was kind of like, this is incredible, and playing with him. And Dionne Warwick, you know, my mum had, you know, her records, Walk On By, you know, Anyone Who Had a Heart and stuff like that. So yeah, it's amazing. And
you mentioned Mark Knopfler, and over the years you've played with quite some incredible artists. So whenever, and this can be any level of artist, but do you take away something musically from, or do you watch how they approach the music, how they approach the profession, or do you take away stuff?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, I did some recording with Mark Knopfler, and yeah, got to see how he worked in the studio and how he put together, you know, a guitar part. And yeah, again, I mean, those, like I said, those things are sort of validating, and there's always that sense as an artist that and I'm sure you've probably heard people say this before, where you feel like everybody else knows what they're doing and you don't. And even those huge artists probably have that same emotion, you know, that we're all just trying to find a way, you know, stumbling in the dark, trying to sort of do our thing. But to see the insecurities and the uncertainties of an artist like Mark Knopfler, who doesn't quite know what to do, or, you know, when we did this song Sarah together, he didn't know what to play, or, you know, and I said, oh yeah, you know, just do, you know, do you, and kind of, you know, so it's reassuring to see the human element with everybody, you know, and that obviously you have these people on a pedestal, but they're just human beings, you know. So that's great.
And finally, kind of with that in mind, do you have any expectations for the album?
As you get older, I think you learn to internalize everything in your own life and try and just appreciate, you know, appreciate the fact that you've got a house and a roof that's not leaking and everything. I mean, if it becomes, you know, if it does great, then great. If it's, you know, down in the sea, if it gets in landfill, then also it's okay. But I just hope I hope people like it. I hope people feel something from it. And yeah, I hope to just keep being an artist.
All right. Jon, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks.